It is week 12 of the NFL fantasy season. It is where we separate the men from the boys because for some reason, Aidan, Roger Goodell decided to have 6 teams on a bye this week as we are looking to punch our ticket into the fantasy playoffs. But we don't do it because it's easy. All right, Aidan, we do it because it's hard. So on today's episode of the Regression to the Mean podcast, we have 15 players on the Week 12 waiver wire that will make your fantasy football team better. I'm your host, Shaun. I'm joined by my good friend, my co-host, my fellow knower of ball, Aidan Haller. Aidan, man, we didn't do waivers last week. We decided to go with trade targets at the trade deadline. Felt good to take a break. I needed a second. There's only so much dart throw RB talk I could do before I need to take a break. But I'm back. I'm ready to hop back in the saddle. How are you doing today, my friend?
Yeah, I'm excited to talk waivers again. Yeah, it felt kind of weird taking the week off. I do just want to say I was just looking at the schedule too. I was like, surely there's no buys next week. So we've got 6 teams. We have 6 teams on bye in week 12,
Dude.
0 in week 13, and then 6 more in the final season of the fantasy regular season. So that's fun. Shout out Roger Goodell. I get it. He wants everyone playing on Thanksgiving weekend, but fucked up, man. I'm excited though. There's more players to talk about than I expected this week. It's actually there's some good players. There's players that are going to help you make a stretch run here. So yeah, Shaun, how you doing?
I'm good, dude. This week is big for me because we get to talk about one of my favorite sleepers from the offseason. He's going to be headlining the episode. We've talked about him several times, so I'm not going to give too many spoilers, but I'm always in a good place. And then I've resigned to the fact that the Niners aren't good. So feels good. I've accepted it. They're a mediocre football team. It is what it is. So Saturday,
our nuts like firmly kicked in.
It's the fourth time this season that they've done this, that they've blown a
I gave up a couple weeks ago. So like mine was like, I watched it and I was like, all right, moving on with my day. All good.
I'm not giving up because they're talented, but I've resigned to the fact that this is not a good team. Like it's not a bad team by any means, but it's mediocre. I had somebody in the comments.
Yeah, they squeak in if they're lucky.
Yeah. I had somebody in the comments for like the trade sells episode. They're like, I don't get your stance on the 49ers at all. We have all these good players. And I'm like, bro, they're not playing that well. So I don't know what to tell you. And obviously no Kittle was just
the NFC is also like you might get in with 10 wins in the NFC this year. Like I don't even think that's guaranteed. The NFC's nuts. The top of the NFC, like it's gonna be a fucking gauntlet in the NFC.
Well, do you want to see the rest of season schedule for the 49ers?
Sure. Yeah, ours is pretty fun too.
They're playing the Packers, Bills, Bears, Rams, Dolphins, Lions, and they're going to finish up with the Cardinals.
Yeah, and you can pretty much only lose 2 games.
And Nick Bosa's probably not going to play next week.
Yeah, you're probably not making the playoffs.
Probably not. It's probably for the best.
Nothing wrong with missing playoffs, man. I can let you know how I cope with it.
Look, and you know I love to shit on Kyle Shanahan. I do not want Kyle Shanahan to get fired.
No, he's not getting fired. That's crazy.
He might need to take a month off. He looks incredibly burnt out, but
yeah, he's going to go to Cabo early, so
he needs a little time because his offense is not innovating. I've not seen anything innovative coming out of the Niners this year, but whatever. We're getting to hour 3 on Niners KMBR radio here, and I just I don't think this is what people came here to watch. They came here to get waiver wire recommendations, and that's what we're going to do here on this episode. So if you are new to our waiver wire format, pretty simple. We're going to start things off with the injuries for the week. We're going to highlight some of the major bye weeks you need to consider, and then we're going to give our top 15 players on the wire. This week, we have a wrinkle. We actually have defenses. We got 2 defenses for you that we're going to end the episode with. I know that's something you guys have been asking about. So we want to accommodate, give you guys the mean team. We'll throw you a bone. We'll give you some defenses. We'll do the hard work there. Shout out Aidan. In terms of how the waiver wire rankings work, we're going to start off with probably our 3 biggest ads. We're going to go to wide receiver, running back, tight end, and quarterback. Try and cover as many positions as possible for you all. If you have any questions about guys you should add or drop, put them in the comments below in this video. Aidan is our steadfast comment reply guy. So shout out Aidan for all the work that he is doing in the YouTube comment section. We couldn't do without you, Aidan. But Aidan, before we dive in real quick, I'm sure this is the first time someone has clicked on one of our thumbnails. They're interested to learning who they should pick up for week 12. If this is the first time that somebody is joining us, what do you think those good people should do at home?
Yeah, first of all, welcome to the program. Good to have you here on the Regression to the Mean channel. Thank you to our returning guests as well. Gotta love the loyal day one still hanging with us in the later round of the season. Yeah, our waivers are pretty simple. We've got a couple heavy hitters to start the show. Then we're going to go position by position. Shaun so graciously is going to timestamp the episode, so you can kind of skip around, see the guys you want. We're going to give kind of why do we like them, general fab suggestion, recent performance, ownership, etc. But yeah, just sit around, enjoy the show, like, comment, subscribe, whatever you're feeling. Excited to have you.
We're pumped to have you. And if, again, you are a loyal listener, thank you. We could not do it without you. Alrighty, we're going to dive in really quickly here with the bye weeks. Let's start with week 12. We'll actually touch on week 14 too. We want to make sure you're getting ahead of it. But week 12, we have 6 teams on a bye.
Man.
No Bijan Robinson in the Atlanta Falcons. No Josh Allen in the Buffalo Bills with James Cook. Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, Chase Brown. They're not playing this week. The Jaguars desperately need some time off.
They need one. They need it. They need it.
New Orleans Saints, no Taysom, no MBS, no Alvin Kamara. I can't believe Taysom and MBS were the first ones before Kamara. And then the Jets, you're going to have to do it without Brees, Garrett Wilson, and Devontae Adams this week. So that's week 12. I want to touch on week 14 just briefly because
it gets worse.
You need to be looking ahead as always, right? Especially if you have Jaden Daniels, if you have Lamar Jackson, Bo Nix, Anthony Richardson, Drake May. Oh my, CJ Stroud, you need to go pick up quarterbacks ahead of that. You need to stay in front of this. Like week 14, we have the Ravens, Broncos, Texans, Colts, Patriots, and Commanders on a bye. You're likely playing for your season in week 14. Like if you play in a bunch of leagues, it's hard to avoid that pivotal week 14 matchup. And you're going to probably have to do it if you're a big Ravens, Broncos, Commanders guy, you're doing it without those studs. So it's rough. It's rough out here over the next couple of weeks. But hey, week 13, no buys, as Aidan already highlighted, which is
thank God.
Insane.
If only 4-4-4. No. We're at 6-0-6. There's been multiple weeks this year. I think this is the second or third week that we'll have no bye weeks, and then week 14. But whatever. Plan accordingly.
Moving on to injuries here. So a pretty light injury week, man.
Yeah.
All things considered.
Oh, yeah. All
pretty light. Nothing crazy. Bye weeks are going to be the killer this week for you instead of injuries. Yes. So we've got 5 guys who are likely to miss time, 2 who left and returned, but just wanted to highlight it. So first injury wanted to call out is Tyjae Spears. He got a concussion in this one against Minnesota. Tyjae had started to eat into Tony Pollard's rush share. Looking pretty likely that he misses week 12. Now, it's not completely out of the question that he returns with a concussion, but you're in concussion protocol. His season's kind of going nowhere. Titans' season's kind of going nowhere. Wouldn't be that shocked if he doesn't play in week 12. This does not mean go pick up Julius Chestnut, because we've already done that song and dance.
Don't do it. Just stay away from Tennessee. Stay away from Tennessee.
This is a double dipper. We've got Zamir White, who re-injured his quad in week 11. This is coming from Jeff Mueller, so it's not even reported here in his blurb. It's not even showing up in his blurb, but he's got the questionable tag. So he injured his quad in this one, and then Alexander Mattison left the game with an ankle injury in this one. So they're down. There are 2 running backs here for the Raiders. Now, no one's going to get super excited about the Las Vegas Raiders running backs, but they got matchups against Denver, KC, and Tampa. Dylan Laube, Amir Abdullah. They are not going to be called out on the top 15 on this episode, but these are definitely guys where it's like maybe it's Friday and it's pretty clear that White or Madison aren't going to play. Not the worst idea to go pick up those guys, potentially considering Gardner Minshew's a check down Charlie. Darnell Mooney, this one's tough. He injured his hamstring. It is not considered serious, but they're on a week 12 bye. He probably doesn't miss any time. Maybe he misses week 13, if it's a hammy. But you're probably going to have him for the fantasy playoffs. The bye is actually saving you this week if you've been riding the moon, man, all things considered. You got any context on Mooney's hammy? Is it worse than it
No.
sounds? What do you think?
I didn't see it. Like you said, like the bye week's awesome. Bye week's really timely. I think just like Drake London, bye week for him too. I know he played through the hip injury with a tough matchup, so I think just really well timed bye for both of those wide receivers there. But I don't know. I don't think we're really going to know kind of Mooney's status.
They won't tell us. Yeah,
probably next week. Like he's not going to practice
Wednesday.
all week. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we won't know for a while, but not considered serious is always something you want to see with hamstring injuries.
Gabe Davis tore his meniscus, non-contact knee injury.
This wide receiver room, what voodoo magic is being done down there? It's just like one at a time.
Parker Washington, come on down. You are going to remain relatively interesting, but I mean it's just Brian Thomas and Evan Ingram. That's the offense.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, this team's trending towards number 1 overall pick
again.
Couple of guys here that returned to play after sustaining an injury. Lad McConkey looked like he hurt his shoulder, came back in, went off 6 for 123. Yeah. We've been ladding our McConkey nonstop, so glad to see our guy Lad. But sometimes they injure the shoulder, come back in, and potentially are hurt throughout the week. So just something to monitor with Lad in his shoulder. He had a pretty nasty fall on it. And then another guy that came back into the game after sustaining an injury is T. Higgins. T. Higgins got hit pretty hard in the back, limped off the field. I don't know. They're on a bye. He is.
He's fine.
But he's T. Higgins, so
he is T. Higgins too.
So you just have to.
Got to watch videos of him jogging up the hill. The hill determines everything.
I don't know, man.
But pretty light though.
He might shut it down.
No, I think he will. Actually, though, I think kind of non-injury related. If the Bengals keep losing, I could see Jamar Chase shutting it down due to the contract.
My only thing with Chase shutting it down is that he's so competitive with Justin Jefferson. Like, he wants all of these records. Like, he wants to be better than Jet is.
Yeah.
So, like, part of me thinks he plays because he's so competitive. And Chase has been by far and away the best receiver in football this year. So,
yeah. Like, Joe Burrow versus Sam Darnold is, it's not close. Like the QB play they're getting, but
a little bit, yeah.
It's, but yeah, we'll see. T. Higgins is a wild card.
All right, man. Light injury week, the bye week stink, but we've got some fun guys to talk through on the waiver wire. And first guy I want to talk about,
gotta start here.
That I touted here is my favorite. One of my favorite sleepers heading into the season. And Operation Taysom Hill kind of got derailed by this rib injury. You see weeks 1 through 7, he's basically just dealing with a broken rib and a bruised lung for the first 2 months of the season. Comes back against Los Angeles, the Chargers, scores 6 points. And then since then, it's kind of been a perfect run out for Taysom Hill, because he's captured his bullshit goal line rushing role where he gets 5 carries a game. But now he's commanding a 20% target share, and he's playing 60% of the snaps. So he's a goal line running back that also gets 6 targets a game that you can play at tight end. And you're going to fucking do that, man. You're going to do that every day of the week.
On Sunday. He had 10 targets
twice on Sunday. He's had some monster games in his career. I think 2021. What did he have? He had that stretch against Dallas where he had 20 points. Against the Jets, he had 26. Fantasy Championship 17. I think 2022 he had that game against the Browns when it was freezing cold. Yeah, he scores 11 points, 13 points. He's had stretches where he's been pretty useful. He went off last year, weeks 6 through 9. It's really not out of the equation for this guy to have some monster months. And, dude, he's by far and away the best pickup on waivers. If you look at some of his underlying usage stuff, he had 18.5 expected fantasy points and 43 real life fantasy points.
The 75-yard tutty at the end was just
oh, it was amazing.
He was already, I think, at 20 points. It was hell yeah. Taysom was such a good play today. Holy shit, I am winning my matchup by so many points now. It was pretty ridiculous.
And what's crazy, dude, is he had a huge receiving touchdown, 70 yards called back last week.
Yep.
So he kind of positively regressed. So if you're looking at his usage, 60% of the snaps in back-to-back weeks. He had 56% targets per route run in week 11, 31% in week 9, 36% of the targets. He's just like a glorified running back who all it's just an insane role now that Shaheed and Olave are out. Considering that it's pretty late in the year and he's a tight end, are you still getting super aggressive with Taysom? Like, what's your lean here with Taysom Hill on the waivers?
I think you have to. Because like we're once again back to the point where like he's not a tight end. You're getting, this guy he's playing quarterback still too. He threw 2 passes. He's playing 3 different positions, touching the ball 15 times a game, and you're putting him at your tight end position. No, dude, I think you could empty the clip. Like I've got 20 to 40%. I doubt you have even 20% of your remaining fab, but like this is a guy that is going to continue to keep this role. Obviously, he's not going to score 40 points every week, but with this wide receiver core completely dismantled, no real threats outside of Alvin Kamara, there is no reason that this offense is not just a 2-man game with Taysom and Kamara. So, yeah, if you've got 20, 30, 40% of your fab left, and you've been waiting for like a late round gem, it's got to be Taysom, especially if you're in tight end premium too. If you're in tight end premium, like again, empty the clip here. Like there's no reason like you should not empty the bank on Taysom if you still have it.
Yeah, okay, so my favorite thing about Taysom is like 2 tight end lineups I don't love. You can easily he's not a
tight end.
He's like a hybrid running back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like it's incredible. Like it's a cheat code. Now again, there are probably going to be some duds sprinkled in there, but I feel like his floor has risen exponentially because of how banged up this team is.
Correct.
So
100%.
Yeah, man, it's a screaming pickup here, in my opinion, on Taysom Hill.
Yeah.
So
and some of your league mates might not do it because he's going on bye as well. So if you got room at the end of your bench, he's going to be projected 0. Like he's not going to be at the top of your list when you go, tight ends this week. Go get Taysom if he's not already on. Like he's owned in 50% of leagues. So
yeah,
he's probably owned in your league, but who knows? Go check it out.
Not in 10-man though. So
probably not in 10.
And my thing also with Taysom, he's got to bye this week, and then he's going to be playing the Rams and the Giants. So those defenses are, I definitely think, playing pretty well, but again, I don't really think it matters. No. Taysom is kind of matchup proof at this point if he continues to have this role. Moving on to the next guy, we usually don't do quarterbacks, and he's rostered in a decent amount of leagues, but if for some reason Anthony Richardson didn't get picked up and streamed for Kyler Murray this week, because I feel like everyone did it, you need to go pick up Anthony Richardson, because what this guy put on tape in week 11 against the Jets is everything we ever wanted to see from Anthony Richardson, and it was by far and away his best game as a pro. 20 for 30, 272 pass yards, a passing touchdown, 2 rushing touchdowns. He truck sticked multiple guys to get in the end zone. And I think what was so impressive about Richardson is that he led 2 70-yard touchdown drives in the fourth quarter in a come-behind victory on the road. The benching worked, Aidan. Clearly,
it was stupid, but it worked.
Clearly, he wasn't taking it that seriously, or he wasn't the leader that the team wanted him to be. He took it to heart, and they kicked some ass. So now A-Rich put everything on tape. Is why you took him in the 5th round in leagues. It's why I'm a huge believer in him. He's still only 22 years old, but what he offers with his mix of weapons, how good his play calling is, and his rushing upside in the red zone, this guy can touch QB1 weekly as his ceiling. I feel like you got to go pick him up. He's got rough matchups, though. He's going to play Detroit. He's going to play New England. He's going to go on bye, and then he's going to play Denver.
And then Tennessee, too, is not.
Yeah, it's not an amazing stretch here. But I don't know. What do you think about A-Rich? How would you approach him in terms of fab guidance? Would love to know how you're thinking through the Colts.
I thought it was extremely impressive. We know he's a good rusher, but it felt like he was finally connecting on the short to intermediate stuff, which we all knew he needed to put his game together. Like no one doubts his ability to throw the ball 60 yards on a rope. Like we knew he could do that, but like, he was just under 70% completion percentage. I doubt he's going to be that on a week-to-week basis, but like we need you like 60 plus on a weekly basis. So really encouraging to see him bounce back from that benching and, he's probably on pace for top 3, top 4 QBs this week. Just off the top of my head, I forget.
He's QB4. QB4 right now before the Monday night game.
Yeah. So, really impressive though. You already highlighted the kind of tough schedule. I was going to highlight just playoffs. Like Denver and Tennessee is not great. If you get to the championship though against Giants is pretty cool. That's like a league average defense. They're not going to have anything to play for at that point. So I'd get pretty aggressive here. Again, like if you need QB help, like there's no reason if you've still got 20% of your fab that I wouldn't unload it here too. So, this was a guy that was being drafted as a top 6, 7 QB in drafts this summer. So I was able to get him back on a roster where I drafted him, ended up dropping him, got him back. So like we saw it last year. We saw it today, not today. We saw it on Sunday. This guy has QB1, top 3 QB upside on a weekly basis. Could absolutely help you win some championships.
Stick him on the end of your bench too, because maybe Tennessee, they pack it on. Devondre Sweat goes sit down. Jeffrey Simmons goes sit down. All of a sudden, Tennessee's just like a slam dunk matchup for them. So we'll play it by ear, but A-Rich needs to be owned in all leagues when he has this kind of ceiling. Even if he's your backup, you don't want your league mates to have him. I'll tell you that if he's this good. All right, moving on to our first wide receiver. This is somebody that Aidan dropped in a league where I was thin at wide receiver. Thank you, my friend, because he went on a bye. A lot of people dropped Elijah Moore because of the bye week. He's available in so many leagues that I play him. And it's because he only scored 5.8 points against the Chargers the week before the bye, but he had 9 targets. And he continues to see this target stretch. He had 8 targets in week 11. The pass rate of this Browns offense with Jameis Winston is fucking crazy.
It's crazy.
Jerry Jeudy's averaging 10 targets a game with Jameis. Elijah Moore's averaging 9, and Cedric Tillman's averaging 9. This is awesome. This is freaking awesome. Like,
it's what we wanted. It's what
3 of these guys are just getting peppered with targets. Nick Chubb's a shell of himself. No disrespect, but they're not running the ball well at all. And they're just hucking it around the yard. And Elijah Moore right now is playing exceptionally well. His toe drag swag touchdown. Did you see that? His touchdown this week?
Yeah, that was sick.
Absurd. Always been hyper talented, but they've always tried to play him on the outside. He's now playing a lot more in the slot, and I think it's really good for his production. If you look at what he's done over the past month, the man is just a full-time player, essentially. He's seeing close to I would say, 23, 24% target share. And, last week his ADOT was 18.8 yards, the week before 13. So he's not even a short pass merchant.
Nope.
I feel like what he did this week was more sustainable than Jerry Jeudy, who had the huge long touchdown.
Oh, without a doubt.
So I just feel like Elijah Moore is such a slam dunk to go pick up right now. But I will say, I'll caveat, he has a brutal schedule coming up. He's going to play the Steelers. He's going to play the Broncos. And he's going to play the Steelers again. Now, I think Jameis Winston's going to say, fuck it. Just keep hucking it.
That's all he knows, dude. That's all he knows.
That's brutal, man. What are you thinking about Elijah Moore here, considering his stretch, considering his production? Are you worried about the Jameis benching if it occurs? Like, I fear about DTR, but I don't know.
There's no way they sit him down. There's no way that anyone in that room thinks that DTR gives this team a better chance to win than Jameis. And like you mentioned, it's just been awesome. Yeah, he had 8 targets, and that was 3rd on the team. It's like, dude, it's awesome what this team is doing. So like, I think I'd rather have Elijah over Jeudy, but I would go look at Jeudy as well. He's obviously a bit more owned. He's just under. I'm looking at 68% here. Back-to-back weeks with 11 targets for Jeudy. But like you mentioned, like Elijah Moore is touching like 10 targets every week right now. I think he has more of a week-to-week floor, like you mentioned as well too. So I think in order, I'd probably go Tillman, Moore, Jeudy. They're probably owned in like different ways, but Elijah Moore's legit. A 2nd round draft pick.
Mm-hmm.
We always knew the talent was there, and it feels like they're more or less getting the best out of him right now with kind of like the designated slot role. So, I wish I still had him on my team, but sacrifices had to be made on a bye week.
Thank you.
I wouldn't get crazy with this one. What are you thinking here for Fab? I had like the 10 to 20 range, which might even be a little rich, depending on how much you're still sitting on here. But how crazy would you get?
Yeah, I think if you have Darnell Mooney out this week or like one of these receivers you've been counting on, yeah, I think he's a great play.
And he's
I
still
wouldn't get
owned
too.
in just 12% of leagues.
Yeah,
This is a guy
crazy.
that's out there. There's a good chance he's on your waiver wire.
I just worry about the schedule and the DTR thing. Like the Browns might want to. They're very analytically driven organizations. They might want to be like, let's see what we have in DTR, and then I worry. But if it's Jameis hucking it, I mean, yeah, I'd do 20% easy. If I knew Jameis is the starting quarterback rest of the season, yeah, I'd be pretty pumped about it.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Just let us have Jameis. Just let us have this, man.
I think there would be a full-blown revolt from the locker room.
1,000%. 1,000%.
All right, moving on to our next guy here. We got Christian Watson here, the year 3 wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers. Christian Watson having a typical Christian Watson season where he does nothing and then he explodes for a promising week. I will say with Christian Watson in particular, if you're looking at his underlying usage over the past month, he has cleared a 19% or higher target share over the last 3 weeks. If you see what he did this week against the Chicago Bears, he goes 4 for 4 for 150, which is kind of insane. It's total Christian Watson shit. But overall, he's playing really well. He was PFF's number 1 rated Packer. He's played well when he's gotten his number called, and he's consolidated, basically taken all of Dontavian Wicks' lunch.
Bummer.
Going off against the Bears secondary is a pretty bullish indicator for me, though. That's a really hard secondary to beat. And he did it pretty well, man. So I think you should go pick up Christian Watson. I think I want shares of this offense. Some receiver is going to emerge here. I just don't know who it is. So I'm happy to take it in Watson, whose underlying usage, again, pretty solid over the past month. What do you think about Watson? I know he's somebody that you have faded at pretty much every single turn. Are you going to fade him again here if he's on the waiver wire? What are your thoughts?
I think I would roster him, but like you can't. I can't start Christian Watson. It's just it's like the most volatile like stock imaginable with Christian Watson. Like, sure, he had 150 yards, but one was a double coverage like fuck it ball from Jordan Love that went for like 50 yards.
Classic.
The other one was a broken play where he dives. There's not a defender near him, and he goes for 70. So it's like I'd rather have a guy like Elijah Moore or like a Pop Douglas that is getting more consistent targets on a week-to-week basis. I think like this Packers offense is just it's brutal outside of Josh Jacobs to think like you can really trust anyone. I think Jaden Reed's actually in that too. I think those two, like Tucker Kraft went zeros out of nowhere this week. Like we thought Tucker Kraft was consistent. So there's so many guys in this room, I think, but he needs to be rostered. Back to kind of like my point here. This isn't someone I'm getting all that excited about to start. They actually do have a pretty favorable playoff schedule too. If you look, you've got the Seahawks, Saints, and the Vikings. Vikings in week 17 is pretty tasty. So
and 49ers, Dolphins, Lions. Like the Dolphins are a good defense. The 49ers defense is hit or miss. You can toss it on the Lions. But all those games are going to have high point totals. So
he like I just put him in like the Gabe Davis type territory there, where like I just know I'm going boom or bust. And if you've got a pretty steady roster and like you can afford a donut or 5 points or less in your lineup, like fuck it, let it rip. But like if you need someone steady, I can't convince you that Christian Watson is that type of player for you.
I'd rather have Elijah Moore. I'd much rather have Watson than Pop Douglas. There's the ceilings higher, even though I get it, like low floor type player.
But yeah, it just depends what you want.
All right, moving on to the next guy here. He's somebody that we've kind of joked about as like this like sleeper no name, like kind of like an NPC guy. Who the fuck is Devaughn Vele? He's a wide receiver here for the Denver Broncos. He is a rookie out of Utah. I was just ultra impressed with Devaughn Vele this week. Only 3 games on in the afternoon window here on the West Coast. Was watching the Niners, Broncos, and the Chiefs. All those games on one TV. It was really cool to just get a look at that Broncos offense. And though Vele, when you look at this on the surface, 5 targets, 4 catches, 66 yards, nothing of that is really going to wow you. he looked like the second best pass catcher in this offense behind Courtland Sutton. And he really pops on film, dude. He's like 6'6". He's like 210, 220, huge frame. He's like a big body slot receiver in the way he's used. Sean Payton gets him in really favorable situations. And though I might be more enamored with him as like a real life football player, I always like rookies. I always like ascending talents. And this is somebody that potentially could do damage for you at the end of the season. He's got matchups against Cleveland, Indianapolis, Cincinnati down the stretch. Those are all pretty favorable spots, man. I'm curious to know thoughts on Vele. Do you prefer him versus like a Christian Watson? Because Vele is like a supersized Pop Douglas kind of if you look at him the past couple weeks. Curious to know this is a high floor guy versus high ceiling and how you'd approach someone like Vele.
Yeah, this is a guy that's definitely emerged. Was second this week in terms of targets. They kind of sprinkle the ball everywhere too, which is a little annoying. They've done it 2 years in a row now. We had 10 different guys see a target on Sunday. We'd really love to condense this a little bit more. But to your point, I think there's definitely a higher ceiling here than a guy like Christian Watson. He's playing consistent snaps. He's getting consistent targets. Like you said, I think it's pretty fair to say this is the second best wide receiver on this team right now. You've got Will Jordan Humphrey, who continues to get way too many snaps. Mims and Franklin's are kind of your big play speedy merchants. Whereas, you've got your X and your Z, Courtland Sutton and Devaughn Vele, sorry. So this is an interesting one. It feels like he's definitely trending up though. Like if you just look at the last couple of weeks, it's super encouraging. Like, the routes he's running, the snaps he's playing, and the consistent looks he's gotten over the last few weeks now.
Back-to-back weeks, clearing 70% of the routes.
Yeah.
He already is the number 2 receiver in terms of usage. Josh Reynolds is returning, but Josh Reynolds, I feel like, eats into little Jordan Humphrey's role.
I think so.
If I had to pick it.
And then just looking at ownership to 6%. This is, you miss out on a lot. Like, put Elijah Moore as your top priority. I like the Vele number 2 for you.
Total dart throw.
Yeah, but again, this isn't a guy that I'm really going to empty the clip on. Like, if you've saved up Fab, this is not the one. I would go like 5% max here. There's probably a good chance other guys in the league don't even bid on him. I'd assume we're gonna have $0 winners with Devaughn Vele this week. So toss a couple dollars on him, but I wouldn't say your make or break is Vele here.
This is a meme. The fact that we're here at this point in the year,
I don't know,
recommending MVS, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, and his stat line is unreal. He has 5 catches for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns over the past 2 weeks. Not very sustainable. No. Not very sustainable.
I don't know what to do with him, to be honest.
You know what's so funny is that he turned into a possession receiver for the Chiefs. Remember, he was like and then now he's like back to being MVS, just explosive as all hell. Like, this guy's 30 years old. Have you ever seen him look this fast? Maybe is it the turf, like playing in New Orleans? But he's exploding right now.
He looks fast as shit.
Man, I don't really have much on this guy. He's got his next 3 weeks. He's playing the Rams, the Giants, the Commanders. In terms of his usage and his role in the offense, like, he's clearly emerging as a full-time player. Derek Carr is a guy who likes to throw the ball deep. That's pretty well articulated, right? I mean, everyone knows that. Yeah. And I feel like if you have to play him, I don't know. You just hope he hits a big play and scores a touchdown, right?
That's the only way. That's the only way it works. The only way that the MVS start ever works.
It's just so funny. He was like a high target, like possession guy for the Chiefs, and now he's back to being a big, speedy guy for the Saints. He's a full-time player. 87% of the snaps, 15% targets per out run isn't very good. Taysom's taking all the targets. So is Juwan Johnson. So, he's like the third option in terms of target share. But again, he's getting all the Shaheed deep bomb down the field. And, Derek Carr likes to take 4 of those a game. So
I don't know what I would do with him.
I'd pick him up. I picked him up last week because I knew no one was.
But
I have no fab anymore in my leagues because I'm aggressive at the beginning of the year. And I was like, I know one of the leagues I play is not going to give a fuck about MVS. So I was like, I picked him up in a league and I'm pretty happy with it. And I've got some depth, like I'm not going to be rushing to start him.
Especially going into buy. Like no one's going to rush to pick him up. He's 17% of leagues. This is probably like the same fab suggestion I would do with Vele, like 3 to 5%. You'd probably win with $0 on him.
There's something there with him and Derek Carr. I don't know how much you can bank on it, but it's definitely something I would take a dice roll on.
Yeah.
Overall. The last receiver that we've got here, I think if this holds, he would be one of my favorite low A-dot gadget guys. Like Pop Douglas or Scamdell, who like actually is really good.
Totally. Yeah. I loved Curtis Samuel coming into this year. It ended up being
foot injury.
Khalil Shakir. Yeah, because of the foot injury. But he looked really impressive this week. I was pretty encouraged watching Curtis Samuel run around this week.
So we've got Curtis Samuel here, wide receiver, Buffalo Bills. He's now had back-to-back weeks of pretty good usage, weeks 10 and 11. I'd say overall, the line that he put up, 6 targets, 5 catches, 50 yards, or whatever, to touchdown, is pretty solid stuff from Curtis Samuel.
Yeah.
16 points is probably the most you're getting out of him at this point.
About his ceiling, yeah.
But I will say, last year, Curtis Samuel was pretty good in that weird all lives matter Commanders offense. They were literally throwing the ball to everyone. He had plenty of super usable weeks. We're looking at this from 2023. If you're looking at the screen share right now, like multiple games over 15 points, like very usable through stretches last year. And you've now got a receiver here who's clearing some decent thresholds. Now I know that Keon Coleman's hurt. Amari Cooper's been in and out of the lineup. Dalton Kincaid's banged up. So there's a lot going on right now in this pass catching room. But, he's seeing over basically 70% of the snaps back-to-back weeks. Targets per route run clearing 19% back-to-back weeks. He's a 24% target share in week 10, 16% in week 11. But, man, he's getting low A-dot stuff from Josh Allen breaking tackles. That touchdown he scored was super impressive because he caught it with his momentum, taking him backwards, stopped, kind of tripped a little bit, and just exploded in the end zone. That's when I was like, oh, Curtis Samuel's healthy. Curtis Samuel's really healthy.
Yeah, he looks good. He looks good.
I think I'd rather have Curtis Samuel than all of these guys outside of Elijah Moore and Watson. I'd have him as my third guy.
I think so too. I think in order I go Moore, probably Watson, Samuel, Vele, MVS.
My thing with Samuel though is again like Keon Coleman returns, Mac Hollins still running routes, like
Dalton Kincaid missed time.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Mac Hollins is 60% of the routes in week 11. Shakir 80%. Amari Cooper's
ball out quite a bit too, which is it's hard. There's a lot of mouths in that offense.
Cooper's still not really playing. Cooper's going to get ramped up pretty soon. He's still banged up.
Yep.
So I don't know. That's my only thing. Like Samuel is super encouraging, but there's just a lot of mouths to feed in that offense. Phased out. So it's just something to keep in mind with someone like Curtis Samuel. But he's got a bye week, Niners, Rams, Detroit. Those are going to be high-scoring games, folks. So you could do a lot worse than a talented wide receiver attached to Josh Allen.
I agree.
All right, running backs. We're going to move through this pretty quickly, but I just want to go through the running backs here. I think the top priority ad, again, at the running back position is Cam Akers. Cam Akers this week, he sets, season high usage. He completely iced Ty Chandler. And you know what's saying about this? In Hot Tub Time Machine, how the bellhop, they're just waiting for him to lose his arm the entire movie?
Oh my fucking God. That's one of the best bits of that movie, man.
That's how it's like watching Aaron Jones play running back.
You just know it's coming.
I know how this movie's gonna end, and it just makes and I'm gonna talk about this with James Conner later on. These are guys that always miss time, and they just haven't yet. They just have not, and I just know it's gonna happen. And that sounds a little morbid, but this is the backup running back game we play. It's sick and twisted. You're literally just banking on someone getting hurt. Pretty much all of these guys are in that category, but I'd say Cam Akers, considering how he played and his matchups against the Bears, Cardinals, and Falcons, and who his starting quarterback he backs up is, who's clearly hurt as well, I feel like he's the top ad this week. What do you think about Cam Akers?
Yeah, the scam, man. All four of the guys we're going to talk about, like we're kind of just waiting for the guy in front of them to fall. So like it's really hard for me to prioritize them. As like I really put them all in like roughly the same category. He's looked fine, like wasn't all that efficient. Found the end zone. In terms of the offenses, I don't know. Like they're all so even to me. I think the next guy you're going to talk about would I think I'd rather have him.
Let's move on. We're going to move to Roschon Johnson.
Yeah, I'm like, I think I'd rather
let's group them in together.
Okay. Just like looking at Roschon, I think he has like way more standalone value right now. Was really encouraging with Thomas Davis cut. I always forget his name.
Thomas Brown, yeah.
Thomas Brown. He was used a lot more. And like it was kind of confusing. Like, don't get me wrong, DeAndre Swift's been awesome this year, but it makes sense to feature this guy in a bit more. One, because he's a much better pass protector. Two, he's a beast at the goal line. So 10 carries ties his career high. Found Pater. Wasn't all that efficient, which is okay. But like, I think this is a guy that you can play right now, whereas you can't really play Cam Akers right now. It's like you need Aaron Jones to get hurt, I think, to make him playable.
My only counter is Aaron Jones is clearly hurt.
But he's just still playing through it. He's not sidelined.
But Akers had 10 carries last week.
Yeah.
He had 12 touches. Roschon Johnson had they had basically the same stat line. It's very similar. Roschon got the rushing touchdown. Akers had a receiving touchdown. Now, do I feel more confident about Roschon Johnson's snap distribution holding week to week? I think I do, because Eberflus came out and was asked about the running back usage, and he said, that's kind of how I'd like it to be moving forward. So my general sense right now, and if I pull up their snap distribution, in week 11, Roschon Johnson, 44% of the snaps, season high.
This season, yeah.
34% rush attempt share, season high. 31% of the routes, season high. So all season highs for Rojo. If you look at the Minnesota Vikings in their snap distribution, it's all low for Aaron Jones. For him playing, 55% of the snaps, 54% in week 10, 37-29. Like Akers is emerging here as a 1B per se, and one of the top injury handcuffs in fantasy right now. So I think they're really similar. I'd probably bet the same amount of fab bid. I think Rojo has a little bit more mystery box where he's a year 2 guy. So, I'm always going to bet a little bit more on that. But man, Akers has had stretches in this Vikings offense with Kevin O'Connell being good. So I think I don't
know. They're both like 5%.
Yeah.
Maybe 10 if like you're crazy. Really thin. You just know he's going to let you down. Like Aaron Jones will get hurt. Akers is going to suit up and he's going to get like 8 points for you and you're going to be pissed. But it's all right. That's why we do it.
Another guy here, it's the same stuff. It's Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards for the Los Angeles Chargers, the Gus bus himself. Again, 16% of the snaps, 6 carries after having 10 the week before. He's actually looked pretty good, though. I will say he's been able to look a little bit explosive, where he was clearly playing injured earlier in the year and did not look good. J.K. Dobbins remains the top guy in this offense. He's had basically 70-30 split in week 10. A little less usage in week 11 for Gus Bus. We saw some annoying Hassan Haskins. Come on, man.
Yeah, what are we doing, bro?
Get Hassan Haskins off the field, man. Come on. I will say with J.K. Dobbins, he had the game-winning touchdown, which was sweet, but his efficiency is starting to crater. He does not look.
It's been cratering. It's been cratering.
He does not. He looks like he's losing steam a little bit. Again, he had 11 carries for 56 yards in week 11. 29 of those yards came on the final touchdown run. So
this rush offense is kind of just bad in general right now, though.
It is.
The offensive line's a little banged up, and it's just Air Herbert right now. So you could probably get Gus Edwards for free. This isn't something that I'm probably really all that excited about. Like, you just know the only way you're ever going to hit home with Gus Edwards is touchdowns. That's what
or Dobbins gets hurt. Historically injured running back gets banged up, right?
Yeah, so
I will say they got matchups against the Ravens, who have been really tough on running backs, the Falcons, and the Chiefs, who are the best rushing defense in the league. So it's kind of rough out here for the bus. But he's definitely somebody worth taking a look at overall. Another guy I have here, again, it's bringing back the hot tub time machine bit about the guy with the bellhop who was supposed to lose his arm at the end of the movie. Trey Benson. James Conner in his career, Aidan, I went back and I did the calculation, and this is not a slight to you, James. Do not, fantasy gods, do not smite me with James Conner. I've had enough in my fantasy career. He's on average, he's missed 4 games a year since 2018. He has yet to miss a game this year. I think Benson is an instant plug-and-play RB2 with upside if Conner were to get hurt, and no one's talking about Trey Benson because he didn't play last week.
Yeah, this is a guy that I was actually looking across all my leagues last week, and he's kind of scooped up. But yeah, this is my clear number 3 out of the 4 running backs we're talking about. I've got Roschon and Cam tied. Gus Edwards is my clear 4, and Trey Benson. They're it's obvious they're getting the rookie more looks as the year goes on, and I think kind of taking a little off of James Conner's plate makes sense. Whether it's drive here or two, a couple plays. I like Trey Benson. If he was to step into that James Conner role, it's to the moon. As that offense is really humming right now.
Yeah, they're gonna go off.
Yep.
A guy who's going off right now is tight end Jonnu Smith for the Miami Dolphins. I think the man who is Keegan's arch nemesis at this point.
He hates him.
Because Keegan's like, this is not a winning formula. All they've done is won since they featured.
Well, they're winning. I got bad news for you. They're winning.
Bro, he's 92% snap share, like full blown, like
every down, every
guy,
down. Yeah.
Like first time all year he's cleared that kind of snap share. His targets per route run is insane. His ADOT is super manageable for Tua, who gets rid of the ball in second. Like Tua gets the ball out so quick, man. Perfect receiver receiving tight end for our man Tua. And we've always liked Jonnu Smith, man. I don't know why he signed that contract with the Patriots and they used him that way. It kind of derailed his career, but he's always shown flashes of a hyper-capable player, and he is crushing in Mike McDaniel's offense. It's kind of crazy, though. Since week 7, and this is from Scott Barrett, Jonnu Smith leads the Dolphins in targets, receiving yards, and fantasy points per game.
That's crazy.
More than Tyreek Hill.
But that's a good statement to you. That's 5 games. We're cherry picking a little bit, but that's like half the season. That's a good sample to look at. Tyreek's trending up. He's had back-to-back pretty suitable weeks, but Jonnu Smith should be starting in your fantasy lineups at this point. He's just good. He's good.
Pretty guy who should be starting is the Great White Hope, Will Dissly. He has been pretty automatic. He's been pretty automatic, man. He's still not running a huge amount of routes, but his targets per out run's really solid. And he's just kind of nice as fuck. I don't know how else to put it.
He's just good, man. I was out grabbing dinner last night, and I look up on the TV and just Herbert does an absolute laser down the seam, and I'm like, is that my guy Dissly? Plug and play him last week, but he's kind of moving into weekly play territory. Just looking at the last couple of weeks, 6 targets, 3 targets, 7 targets, 11 targets, 5 targets. The guy's cleared 5+ targets in every game but one since the bye. He's for sure a part of this passing offense. It looks good, It's he's not out here dropping balls, getting separation. He's Herbert loves a guy like that, big body across the middle of the field. A lot of those other guys in that passing attack are kind of fun-sized. So, a big body like that in the middle of the field is, definitely helping elevate this passing attack.
You look at Will Dissly since week 6, 18% target share, 30%, 25, 12%, 35, 17. You're going to take that every day of the week with Justin Herbert and this now Chargers offense that's just hucking the rock. They're all about it. They're just airing it out. Their pass rate's insane.
So cool.
Yeah. Shout out the Chargers for winning that game last night.
Yeah.
They win that game. They lose that game for 10 years, and they won that game last night. Shout out the Chargers for getting that.
That was cool.
Dissly and Jonnu are plug-and-play tight ends, and because of the current state of bye weeks, I really wouldn't hate it if you played him in the flex. I know I don't love it. I don't love doing it, especially if you're playing in a league with 2 flexes. You're going to take it, man. These are guys getting targets and good offenses with good quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to take that every day of the week, man. So go pick up Will Dissly and Jonnu Smith. What are your? I know we haven't given fab guidance on those two. What are you bucking them kind of in the same tier?
Yeah, I had like 10% fab. I like you go up to 20 if you still. That's probably a little rich. I think probably around 10 makes sense for these guys. Johnny was far more owned. He's just under 60%. Will Dissly is 15%. So this is a guy that I would assume to be the bigger priority. But if you got some fab left, go for it. Oh, there he is. There he is. He just keeps performing. He just keeps performing.
I think we all kind of danced around it. We did that Senior Bowl preview, and I was like, "Hey guys, Bo Nix's numbers are insane. Like, I have no idea if they're going to be the same." I'm like, "But guys, I'm like, his numbers are crazy. Everything you wanted to see, like underlying statistics, were really good. I do think he lucked out. Like Sean Payton's coaching his ass off, but it's not like the man is. He's not cooking like with the biggest names." They've got Marvin Mims playing the Debo role. They got someone named Devaughn Vele, little Jordan Humphrey, Lucas Kroll, and then Courtland Sutton's been a good receiver, right? So like, again, we shouted about on the bye episode. Hope you bought Courtland Sutton. But man, Bo Nix is cooking, dude. He's the QB7 since week 4. He's got 14 touchdowns to 1 interception. And I've got a comp for him. You know who you reminded me of?
Trying to think
from fantasy football perspective.
Is he still playing?
He's in the league, but he's not starting anymore.
What is it, Andy Dalton?
Remember when Mitch Trubisky had that like 8-week run?
Oh, yeah, 2018. Yeah,
where he was running and throwing. Yeah, that game where he threw 5 touchdowns or something.
Yeah, against Tampa. I remember like it was yesterday.
I started him in a league all time. He was my bye week villain, and I will never forget Mitch Trubisky for that. So man.
I see it.
He gives me Mitch vibes. I think a lot of people anointing him as really good are wrong, and I think a lot of people shitting on him for being in a great environment or being overly harsh. Like, sure, he's got good coaching, but like, I think we can just live in this world where Bo Nix is a good fantasy quarterback. Like, I don't know what it is, man.
Too. Like, the Broncos might be a playoff team.
He really reminds me of Mitch, and that run Mitch went on in 2018, where he's going to run it a little bit, he's going to throw the ball around a little bit. The offense is cooking, but
I think there's some hints of Geno as well a little bit. I was kind of like trying to run through players in my head that have like a little bit of rushing upside, but just like zipping the ball left and right with like a really good offense. Week 17,
he's got 300 rush yards and 4 touchdowns.
Week 17 against Cincinnati. That's nice.
Colts, Browns, Cincinnati. You can. I mean, the Raiders are good, but like you can score on the Raiders. So, you know what I mean? Like it's not.
Yeah, the Raiders don't care.
He's owned in a lot of leagues, but like if for some reason Bo Nix is still out there, go pick him up. There are going to be 12 quarterbacks on a bye over the next 3 weeks. Like Bo Nix is a pretty sweet bye week fill-in.
Yeah, absolutely. He's on bye week 14 though. So he is one of those 12 quarterbacks.
Wow.
He is one of the 12.
Wow. All right, we're going to move on to 2 defenses here. These are Aiden Haller curated defenses. We have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and we have the Arizona Cardinals. Tell us why you're picking up the Cardinals and Bucs here for the stretch run.
Yeah. So I would really prioritize Tampa. Cardinals I'll get to is mainly because of the playoff schedule. Tampa is just the entire remaining schedule. Just like go over to Tampa and go through that schedule. Like
Giants.
You could play them every single week. I think outside of maybe the Chargers. Giants, Panthers, Raiders, probably got to sit in week 15. Then you got Dallas and Carolina.
Wow.
That's an awesome run out. The teams got a little healthy out of the bye too. Okay. Like this is a defense that I see improving. And yeah, they've got some really cake matchups to do it. So if you kind of like are looking at defense, like this is the point in this season where if you know you're in the playoffs, like go put another defense on the end of your bench. People may not be dying to pick up the number 22 ranked defense, but the schedule's super advantageous. The last thing you want is, you're really good defense you've been holding on to top 5, runs into the Bills or something week 15. And you're like, well, now what do I do? And it's boom. Yeah. You have the Bucs on your bench. So
it's good advice.
The Bucs are one I really like. And then there's the Cardinals as well, who they've actually been a better defense throughout the year. The first couple of weeks are pretty tough, or in terms of like the immediate schedule.
I mean, Geno throws interceptions, and so does Sam Darnold. Now, they might give up points, but those guys kind of are chaos merchants.
Yeah, those are definitely QBs prone to take, make mistakes, not take mistakes. And then the playoff schedule, too, is pretty advantageous. We've got, Drake plays playing good football, but
turnovers.
The Patriots are still the Patriots. Yeah, they're turning the ball over. He's getting sacked. It's not a great offense by any means. Carolina, sure, they're playing a little better. And then you got the Rams week 17. So who knows? They're in contention right now, but they've still got a ton of divisional games. There's no guaranteeing Stafford's playing week 17.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean they held that Chargers. They beat that Chargers team, lost to them, and they got 7 points off Justin Herbert. They got 7 points off the Niners.
So
they have 13 points against the Rams. So I mean, 8 points against the Bills. That's kind of a big deal. It's this is a team that's getting sacks and getting turnovers. So why not?
Kind of just feels like the Cardinals are just gaining momentum too.
They're good.
Early on in the season, I'm like, man, the Cardinals fucking suck again.
Gannon's good.
Yeah, I think they went into the bye on a 3-game win streak.
I think they're gonna win the West outright.
They beat the Chargers too, I think, didn't they? Yeah, I think they're on a 4-game win streak into the bye. This is a team that believes offense is playing well, defense is playing well. Yeah, man. They've
got good wins, man. They beat the Rams, who've decent.
Yep.
They almost beat the Bills. They should have beat the Bills.
Yeah, they let them off the hook.
They got smoked by the Commanders. That was an all-time Jaden game who hasn't done shit since then. They beat the Niners. They beat the Chargers. The Dolphins are playing good football, right? It's dude, they've got some good wins. And totally. Dude, at Seattle, out Minnesota, we're going to learn a lot more about the Cardinals after this week.
I think this is a fun one to stash too. A lot of defenses are already gone. They're 4% rostered. There's a good chance you can get them.
Dude, I can't believe I get to put Taysom on the thumbnail.
It's going to be
what are we thinking this one?
No, we got to do something better than that.
Flexing? Oh, this guy's already got him. You need Taysom Hill. October 26th. Let's go. This guy's a fucking genie.
He's a shark.
Wow. Mine's August, but oh wow, there's so many photos of him. Let's go. Okay, we're gonna have fun. We're gonna have fun with this one on the thumbnail. But all right, man. Thank you for coming to talk ball. This is always a blast getting back on the waiver train.
Yes, sir.
Man, fantasy playoffs, 3 weeks, dude.
Hang in there, fellas. Hang in there, everyone out there.
All right, Aidan, thank you for joining, and thank you everybody for tuning in. Until next time.